So I'm walking through the Lulworth Ranges. This is part 2 of the long march. It's about midday. And I just found a pop-up cafe, which is amazing. But unfortunately, like everything around here, no water. They have to bring it in by hand. So I had to buy some cans of water, but apparently it's a real thing. It seems like, obviously, because they're military rangers, and apparently the farmer won't let them install a water line. Apparently he has to bring in Bowsers for his coos. Although I saw a lot of cattle troughs that seemed to be mains driven, but that was probably earlier. So I might have to filter from a cattle trough, but certainly that means I've got some ice cream and some more water, even if it's £1 a can. But it was good for that. It's usually there apparently Thursdays and Sundays, so I just caught it. And I'm walking down the road while being attacked by people who have to drive 4x4s and massive BMWs down single track roads. And there's one now. Because there aren't that many paths around here. There are some. I'm looking for one. We're all looking for a path, brother, but I haven't found it yet. I found one, but I think it was going off a different direction from what the map suggested. I hope it wasn't that one. But anyway, so I have to stick with the being attacked by annoying people. Because it's just amazing how people drive these big Kias and big BMWs and big 4x4s down these tiny sort of Dorset motorways, and it is a single track road, and it's like there's not much to go, there's no pavements. I'm kind of wishing I had my stick, because this time I don't have my stick to protect myself. People who've listened to the previous podcast, previous series, Jump 3, would know that I, especially at night, had to not only put my light on, which I don't have, which is a good reason to avoid these roads at night. They close the gate at 8, but I'll probably get out of it, and these things tend to be leaky. But I'm happy to scale over gates. I did that earlier. But yeah, the stick, I used to have to stick the stick out because the locals and some of the grockles drive way too close, and obviously there's not much space anyway, because the tiny trackways sometimes, even on the big roads, they just try and mow you down and shout at you. That's the local kiddies' idea of fun. Same as Essex, actually. That's what kids in Essex do in their Polo GT or GT Vauxhall little car, which thankfully they wrap round a fence and kill themselves at some point. And then get little weepy bitteries, but it's usually because they've been driving too fucking fast. So I'm heading to Tyneham, and I spoke to the guy at the cafe. He said, you'll make moot, but then I said, I'm going to be heading back down to Kimmeridge. He was like, So yes, he said, I hope you like hills or something here. I know I like hills, but I also remembered that I don't need to go to Moot Bay, because when I did the Moot Bay last time, I walked through the ranges from Lulworth Castle, and when I did that, I actually did Irish Mell. So an Irish Mell is horrible. It's a really big hill. It's one of the biggest hills around here. There's no Golden Cap as I did last year, but it's still a pretty big hill. So I'm thankful to avoid that. So what I actually have to do is get to Irish Mell, and I know there's an inner at that point, because you can walk inland, or I can just turn back around again. But I refuse to do the Moat steps anyway, so it's probably best to head to Irish Mell. And it's quite funny when you do the inland of that, you can see all the ruined tanks, because they use old tanks as target training, so you can see these ruined hulks of tanks on the hillsides with these big numbers, obviously where the firing points are. But yes, we're going to have a look at Tyneham, the town or village that was taken over at the war, and then people were never allowed to go back. It's a bit of a cause célèbre, and it's It's like when I was at the viewpoint. I took a picture of the viewpoint, closed for military training. What they must put on when they're firing. There's the stuff about all the Lulworth Ranges. Like, ooh, because in one sense they kind of preserve this countryside. In another sense, they're a fucking pain because they did leave the red flag flying back there. Hence the name of the last podcast. Stupidly I didn't take a picture of it, but I've drawn it and painted it before. Yeah, more cars, all coming back from Tyneham, but because nobody walks around here, they all have to drive, and they all have to drive BMWs and big cars. This is the rush hour. But I saw all the flags like wrapped up, but it's something, if you grew up near Ranges as I did as a kid, I can sort of empathise with the locals, because you have a kind of frustration with the MOD, because they not only would just, the answer is always no with anything, they leave the red flags flying on the ranges down where I grew up, so the locals just ignore it. It's like, can we hear any banging? No, let's go for it. Which is crazy. I did stop my friends going into a minefield once. That was fun. But yeah, we used to play around and play being soldiers and throw crow scarers around, and also some of them tried to make explosives. That was luckily not. As far as I know, they went to work for the RAE at Farnborough, blowing things up. So I'm hoping that they and that person was definitely on the spectrum. I'm hoping they didn't blow anything else up. Somebody's zooming around a corner, not fucking locking. It's, they might have blown somebody up, but I don't know, maybe the track was the other one, but there's supposed to be a track off here. I'm not seeing it. Maybe I'm on the wrong road. But yeah, so we used to do that kind of thing. And used to leave the flag flying up. So, people used to dog walk. I used to see the locals dog walking with this, underneath this red flag. It says "Do not enter," because it'd always be "Do not enter." The locals were like, well, screw you. This is our common. You took our common away. And it's the same in Tyneham. They took the town away and didn't let anyone go back. And so if it's open, I'm going to have a look at the school. Yeah, and there's a museum down there. I bet there isn't any water. I bet if anything there isn't any water down there. Probably. But I've always wanted to go. And I know it's definitely open on a Sunday. It must be all these people driving there. But and then I'm not going to dally too long in the land that time forgot, and I'll head to the coast, which I hope is a bit fucking cooler than here, because it's a boiling walk, especially on tarmac. Anyway, speak to you soon. I'm in Tyneham, and the city, well, not the village that time forgot, which was requisitioned by the MOD in 1943, and then they, on the understanding they'd give it back to the Bond family that owned it, and also the people that lived here, and they reneged on that agreement after the war. It's quite humbling, because I've been doing genealogical research into my family up in Lincolnshire, and it's not that far from that. The families that are detailed here, farming, labouring, that was my great-grandfather, rural life, and occasional sort of side hustles, like I think my great-grandfather did things with steam engines, sort of labouring on steam engines. Here it was things to do with the war, and also kind of teas for ramblers and that kind of thing. But it's kind of rather upsetting when you look at the church. and you see the, ironically, and rather insultingly, the local Lulworth camp sends a Remembrance Day, wreath to the church, and it's like, those people died for the country, and you took away their village, you took away their families' homes, and then to send a wreath saying, we remember you. Well, you don't really, do you? Because the ultimate sacrifice meant the ultimate sacrifice of the whole village. And then after because the Cold War, they continued it, and it's kind of sobering. This could have happened to the village Brig in Lincolnshire, where my family comes from, or my dad's side of the family comes from. That could have happened to them, and the stories would be them on the walls and of the church and the sides of the buildings, and that makes me quite angry actually, because they should have given this village back rather than let it fall into ruin. Apart from they rebuilt the schoolyard, which is pure Disney. Apart from the building, it's all kind of very make-believe. I'm sure it was much more dour than that. And the church, I think, was preserved. I don't know how much it's been kind of tarted up, but there's still people from the village who are being buried in the churchyard. It's just rather sad, and also it makes me quite angry about what was done to these people. That they lost their homes for a military range, and we're told they would be allowed to go back, and then Churchill reneged on that agreement. That great man Churchill, yes. You love him around here. And I won't go into that. So anyway, I'm going to head off onto the walk because I've dallied too long here. And also there's so many grockles and emmets around here that it was so funny in the church. There was these teenagers that were looking at me like, giving me shade, but they were sitting down in the church looking exhausted. I'm like, you drove here, because you didn't walk down here, because there was a couple of people walked up, but it was everyone, mostly cars coming down, a few bicyclists, but everyone drove here, and it's like, you're exhausted. Oh, poor dear. Oh, poor dear. Throwing shade at me with my shirt off. But, oh, are you a bit exhausted? Oh, diddums. So, yeah. I'll speak to you soon.